right. So, hello, folks. Welcome to the Sunday afternoon call. It's the 14th of September. And today we're going to be talking about fear. Let's talk about fear as a topic, but we're going to get into some very interesting and hopefully not too much detailed stuff. So, the first thing to say about fear is that there are two kinds, and that when we talk about it in this regard, we're talking about very fast action of the mind versus a slower processing kind. Now, fear was kind of a primal emotion that comes out of our deep, dark past. You could say that it's built into the DNA, or you can say that it's an underlying tendency or a combination of underlying tendencies or instincts. That you could see, in fact, that the self preservation instinct, its language is fear. And that the original point is that if we are walking down the pathway in very ancient times with maybe just a spear and no loincloth, and or maybe even just a sharp stick, and something rustles in the foliage behind us, one turns around to see what it was, and the other one just takes off running out of fear. Guess which one survived? The one who took off immediately or the one who turned around to check it out to see what it was? This is what we mean then by being very primal. And it required a fast action for survival. It comes up automatically. There is, in fact, an entire function of the brain around this, primarily called the amygdala. Now, we'll spend some time with the amygdala. It's a place in the brain where it's the seat of fear, and that it kicks off very quickly. Sometimes we even don't know why the fear pops up. Now, that's especially true in modern times, to where there's all kinds of irrational fears, or let us call them symbolic fears as opposed to actual fears. The example is that the email that is so terrifying is just an email, it's not a tiger. And yet we'll react to that email as if it were a tiger. Or we can have responses to, say, thunder, lightning, a loud noise, anything like that that brings on a startle reaction. And I've also seen startle reactions by people. In fact, I remember one, I had a friend, we knew each other, but after this incident, she avoided me completely. It was in the kitchen at the retreat center in Watso and Moke at the International Retreat Center, and there this woman was washing dishes. And I just walked up behind her, just doing my thing, and she turned around and she was 3 feet off the ground with a startle reaction. She thought that I had floated in there in the air. The fact is that she just wasn't paying attention, that I wasn't actually trying to sneak up on her. I was just being there. But having done walking meditation, I guess I was more quiet than most people. But that startle reaction is quite an issue for many people. They will become startled for no reason at all. Now, if she stayed startled, she didn't come down off of it. I also remember a time, it happened right here at the house, 4 or 5 years ago, where there was a tree that was just on the other side of this house right over here, and the lightning struck and hit that tree, and the whole place was completely bright. That lightning bolt was so bright that it just made everything white. The entire field of vision was all white, followed by a clap of thunder that was so loud. Now, there were people in the front room of the house here. They probably knew that the lightning had flashed, but when that thunderclap happened, everybody was 2 or 3 feet off the floor, including the dogs. Everybody just went like that while I was sitting here watching what they were doing because I wasn't in that startle stage. So that point that we're making here, Karwan, is that there are some things that condition or create or cause a startle reaction or fear or a sense of dread, and then there are those things that we don't know where it comes from. But in fact, I've had students who were practicing, and they would call and say, while I was in practicing Anapanasati, I got an intense sensation of anxiety. And I said, oh, was that brand new anxiety or was that old stuff? And they would all admit, yes, it's old. And that basically what we can uh, boil that down to is that for some people, the amygdala is kind of on a hair trigger, very sensitive. Its sensitivity level is very low. But through correct practice of Anapanasati, we kind of toughen up that guy so that he doesn't respond to things. In fact, if he's tough enough, he's not going to respond with fear for anything. That self-preservation instinct then is a very natural thing. It comes out of our deep, dark past. It's built right into our DNA. You can say that it's instinctual. And we'll also introduce a new term, Anusaya, which the Buddha used that refers to underlying tendencies. Now, let's see. Alex, will you bring up the image that we have for the group?
Yes, sir. 1 second.
Oh, it's on watch stream. So if everybody will click on that watch screen, you'll see. Does everybody see that? It's a picture of a brain with eyeballs looking at a spider. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Hank? So, we're talking about the amygdala, and the reason that I put this up on the screen is to point out where it's located. But you can also look over to the left where you see the visual cortex, and then you see that blue arrow pointing from the visual thalamus down to the visual cortex. That arrow is backwards on this drawing. That visual cortex is the first thing that the eye sees. And in fact, the optic nerve goes around to the back and hooks up with the visual cortex, which then relays information to the visual thalamus or the hypothalamus down to the amygdala. So what we're saying here is that when the eyes see the spider, the optic nerve sends it to the visual cortex, sends the image to the thalamus, which sends it down to the amygdala, and then the amygdala does its thing by going down the brain stem to connect with the adrenaline gland. Now, the important point that I want to show is that the amygdala is at the base. It's behind the eyes, and it is at the base of the brain. In fact, this is a two-dimensional drawing. If it were three-dimensional, we could see better that it, in fact, is at the back of the throat. This is an important point because this actually relates to how we can help ease the amygdala so that it operates so much. We can actually send it some love juice, some energy, or some nurturing through the breathing by paying attention to one's breath at the back of the throat. So everybody take a moment and take an in-breath and an out-breath as if you were massaging and relaxing your own amygdala. That it, in fact, is very close to the breathing apparatus. Okay, Alex, you can take that down now.
Qigong.
All right, thank you. So,
You're very welcome.
the there, what we're looking at here is that there is an actual structure that has the fear mechanism. We can also say that fear is a very primal kind of feeling in the sense that we have feelings that are fear based, and then we have feelings that are non fear based. The fear based feelings, those that have fear associated with them, would be words like anxiety, anger, um, frustration, sadness, despair, um, grief, all of those kind of, let us say, down kind of feelings always have a fear element built into them, to where when there is no fear, when you have a sense of safety, then we have the feelings of joy, relaxation, comfort, ease, safety, security, even satisfaction, success. And so, what we work on through Anapanasati is learning to turn off all of those negative feelings that work with fear and start working with positive. If we can use the word positive, rather use the word wholesome, so that we can have feelings, begin to learn to control our feelings through our breathing and through our thought process. Now, uh, we can see in our culture that children are raised in a sense of fear so that they become very sensitive to things and become fearful easy. An example of that would be in the 1990s and 2000, 2010s, etc. There was a whole group of Christians throughout the southern part of the United States, not just evangelicals, but Baptists and Methodists and all, would have home schooling because they wanted to keep their kids out of regular schooling for some reason or another. And just the fact that the child is out of the public school system means that the school is dangerous, as well as all of the Christian kind of education that the child would get. And so now we have one or two full generations of Christians that are terrified all the time. They've got a very sensitive amygdala. And so they will become fearful very, very easily of all kinds of things. For instance, Charlie Kirk, one of their public figures, got shot, and most of the people in the United States says, "Oh, Charlie got shot," but his friends and followers, they freaked out. They said, "Oh, the war has started. The libs are killing us," and all of this kind of stuff, where they were talking about other people. And that they then began to find out that all the actual guy that did it, his dad turned him in, they're all actually right wing Republicans. And they couldn't stand that because it didn't go with their understanding. It went against their views. So, Let's expand the idea of instincts for just a moment into the self-preservation instinct, which has worked primarily with fear to preserve the self, but all of the other instincts work in conjunction with that, like the procreation instinct and the nesting instinct, and primarily I want to talk about right now the territorial instinct. And the territorial instinct means is that anything that's not in our territory, anything that we don't know, is dangerous. And that which we do know will be safe. So, if we now look at what the Buddha taught, he taught with a system of he called Anusaya. Now, the Anusaya is actually translated as underlying tendencies. Well, underlying tendencies sound very, very much like instincts. And in fact, they are. You can see when we talk about the underlying tendencies, and the underlying tendencies in Sutta number the Anguttara Nikaya 7's, Sutta number 11, it talks about 7 of these underlying tendencies. The first one is, excuse me, Kaya Raga, which is actually sensual desire. Well, sensual desire is actually part of the second noble truth. It's also one of the fetters. It's number 4, and that sensual desire is also the major part of the um, procreation instinct. That in fact, the way that the human body has been developed, it looks like that people, especially when they're trained that way, see that the highest sensual pleasure is sexual. But that's not actually true. It's more of that's how we've been trained. That there are some cultures that train the child differently. And one of the ways, in fact, the best story that I have is about Achan Po. When he talked about it, he had been a monk since the age of 6. He was cloistered. He was not around women at all. The very few women that he did see had shaved heads and were dressed completely, and he never got very close to them. And sex was never an object, never an issue. He was not giving any pornography. He was not giving any of that kind of stuff, and nobody around him did, which meant that when he grew up, he grew through puberty, sensuality and sexuality was not ever an issue. And he confided in me that he could appreciate that, especially Westerners are overly indoctrinated. It's like they're like the amygdala, their sensuality mechanism is very, very sensitive. Sometimes it's really sensitive. I saw a cowboy movie one time where a woman fully dressed was getting into a boat, and a young man saw her ankle, and he went giddy because he saw an ankle. Wow, a woman's ankle. What can I say? Okay, and that's because he was overly sexualized. And you can see that, in fact, in the Muslim thing. They think that they can cover up a woman in a burqa to prevent the young Muslim men from becoming over sexualized. And in fact, it has just the opposite effect. Just the opposite effect. So, perhaps the better thing to do is to keep the girls and the boys separated, even in different schools, so that it never becomes an issue. But unfortunately, the systems that we have in Western world today make us very sensitive to sensual delight, sensual pleasures. In fact, our entire economy is built upon it. And so that gives us a whole lot of dukkha. And so also there's many societies that are mostly built upon fear. So they have all of this fear. And so they even make sexuality a big no-no, and then they make it a big deal. And so now sexuality has a whole fear element built into it. So another Anusaya of the 7 is Kama Raga, which means, Patika, which is aversion. Well, aversion is also the 5th fetter. It's also the part of the 2nd noble truth. So you can see that all of these are just different ways of looking at it, but it's all just one thing. The next one is ditthi, or view. Now, I mentioned before the territorial instinct. That one of the ways of seeing the territorial instinct is mostly for humans. Our territory is our belief systems, our knowledge, our knowing. To where if you look at the dogs, their territory is a physical territory. They go around marking their territory and other things like this. There's been a lot of scientific research with dog collars, radio collars, with wolves and whatnot, to see just how territorial they are. Also, we know that the primates in Africa are very territorial, but humans, we have been in the history of being physically territorial, but now in our modern culture, our territory is wound up being mental territory. It's our views, the way that we see things. And so, while the right hates the left, they hate them because their views are different, not because they're different color or different race. Now, they use colors and race as an issue, but really the issue is that they see things differently, they think differently, they have different views. Now, within the teaching of Buddha, in fact, we talked about this just yesterday, that there are 2 primary views. There is the nihilistic view of nothing matters and I can do what I want to do and get away with it. Every child starts off basically with a nihilistic view. And then the other view is an eternalistic view. Things last forever. We're going to make sure that you don't get away with it. We're going to have cops. We're going to have police. We're going to have an army. We're going to have uncles and aunts and teachers. And if none of that makes you do what you're told to do, then we're going to go get a priest who's going to send you to hell to make sure that you're really afraid. And so you'll behave the way that you're supposed to behave, the way you're told to behave. And so those are the 2 views that are out there, and that all of the rest of the views are just kind of tiny little things, like the view of if you don't wear a turban, you're going to go to hell. Or the other view is if you do wear a turban in this neighborhood, we're going to shoot you. So all of those views are part of the system that is based on what the Buddha teaches is that let's not have these views. There's underlying tendency to have views. We think that what I know is wonderful and that what you know is garbage. We've been taught that kind of thing. And so the Buddha teaches is that let's not use views, let's use viewing. Let's start looking at how things really are. So now we've covered 3 of them. The next one on the list is doubt, vichaka. Now, doubt is a hindrance. Doubt is the third fetter. It's also an underlying tendency. It's part of our DNA to doubt, to wonder. You can imagine the old dudes out in the night looking up, and they saw the stars in the sky, and they became very doubtful. They became afraid. They couldn't stand that they didn't know what it was, and so they started making up a whole lot of stories about it that eventually became views. None of it was true. That's where we get our astrology. In fact, even astronomers are still trying to figure it all out because they don't like to be in doubt about what's up there. Same thing with meteorologists. Whole bunch of people are interested in the sky. They try to keep figuring it out. They want to know what the stars are doing. They want to know everything about it. And that's just so that they can feel comfortable. They don't like being unknowing and full of doubt about it. So the next item on the list is mana. Now, mana actually is conceit, and it's actually part of the, let us call it the first fetter of personality view, and it's also that primal instinct of self-preservation, the self-preservation instinct, which has the quality of I am. This is actually just an instinct. It's just a underlying tendency that we have to believe that we actually exist, not only exist, but that we're important. And this causes us a lot of problems because eventually we begin to have views about who we are because we have this view that I am. So who am I? And this is where we come with all of these labels of I'm a Christian, I'm an atheist, I'm an engineer, I'm a this or that or the other thing, and I'm different than you are, I'm better than you are, or you're better than I am, and all this kind of comparison comes out of this view of I am, but it's just another view. And the next one on the list is called Baba, and Baba actually means becoming. And so we can see that some of the fetters, like Rupa Raga and Arupa Raga, come out of this underlying tendency of Baba Raga, which means the attachment to becoming something, to do this and then become something else, to grow, to change, to want to do this, that, and the other thing. And that this actually creates a lot of stuff, dukkha, because it's based upon the quality of I am. And then the last one, the number 7, is ignorance. Ignorance is an underlying tendency. In fact, the easy way to look at it is a tender infant that's just been born is really ignorant. He doesn't know how to use his hands. He doesn't know how to walk. He doesn't know how to do quadratic equations. He doesn't know anything. Doesn't know the language, etc., like that. So we really start off in a deep state of ignorance, and we don't like that very much. That ignorance, in fact, is one of the big problems. One of the ways of stating it is that what you don't know can hurt you. It brings up fear of the unknown. And so in politics, they use the expression of it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't, because the devil you don't know is dangerous. Why is he dangerous? Because you don't know him. And so we don't like this issue of ignorance. Now, one of the important points about this talk today is to see that these underlying tendencies, these fetters, which are directly involved with the underlying tendencies, these instincts are all things that we're born with, and they don't do us a whole lot of good in modern society. That came out of our deep, dark past. And they don't do us much good now. And so what the real teachings of the Buddha would be is to be somehow able to overcome these underlying tendencies, overcome these instincts, overcome these fetters, so that we can live our life in reality. And fear is at the base of this. Now, in all of these seven Anusaya, we don't find fear as an actual item on the list, but it's actually a combination of things. It's a combination of ignorance and doubt and ill will. And so I'm going to introduce now the idea, this comes out of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, that there is structure and that there is function. Now, neurology is interested in structure in the sense of a thalamus, a cortex, frontal cortex, visual cortex, amygdalas, blood vessels, brains, all of this kind of stuff. And the Buddha was not interested in the structure. He was not a surgeon. He didn't have a knife sharp enough to cut up his own mind or his own brain to see what was in there. So he wasn't really interested in structure. He was more interested in function and how we can straighten out these functions so that we don't wind up in the state of fear, agitation, worry, discomfort, anger. And there is a method. That's where he brought up the Eightfold Noble Path. This is the real teaching of the Buddha, is that we can come out of this thing called dukkha, this dissatisfaction that is based upon, let us say, the misfiring of these underlying tendencies. The underlying tendencies are there, but we don't need them hardly anymore. Let's leave them just underlying tendencies without them popping up and doing their job, because their job is to protect us. The job is to protect us from dangers that don't exist anymore, and that almost all the dangers that we do have nowadays are either one, symbolic, or two, manufactured. Now, we can also say that the right way to do it is, instead of operating by instinct or operating by underlying tendencies, which is the way that people have been trained throughout all of humanity, let's begin to train our own mind and even begin to train our own children to deal in actual reality, that which actually exists. And so this is where ditthi comes from, not a viewpoint about the way we think things are, and start using another kind of ditthi, which is actually looking, viewing, seeing exactly how things are, so that then we can change the inside of the mind to correspond to reality, as opposed to what we've been trained throughout all of existence is to fix reality to conform with how our mind is already broken. We try to break reality so that it fits with the broken mind, instead of fixing the mind so it fits with reality, which isn't really broken. Now, the problem is that most people see two kinds of reality. One reality is the actual reality, and that the other is the reality of all of those other broken people. And if we go around thinking that all of those rednecks and all of those Christians and all of those Republicans are broken, or if we're on their side and we think that the Democrats and the libs are broken, then that's just a broken attitude. That's our own broken attitude. Let's leave those people to their own devices and live in a world that's just okay. This is where we can train the mind. We can train the mind to come out of our fear. And one of the ways, in fact, this is a primary thing, is to train yourself to not be afraid. And how do we do that? There's several things that we can do. All four of them, in fact, are aligned around the Satipatthana, the four foundations of mindfulness. So we can do things with our body. One of them is that if we're afraid, we can ground ourselves. Pay attention to your feet. You can see that, in fact, you're not floating off into the air, that you're grounded. You can also see that your breathing can help relax the body, that the breathing, in fact, can actually nurture the amygdala so that we can come out of it. Also, the out breath will help throw out all of the excess adrenaline that we have built up in fear. And so breathing is a major component of coming out of our fear. Another one is to look around and see that there is no danger. I'm going to pick on some people now. Christina, do you have any pythons in your room?
I do not.
You do not. Isn't that marvelous?
Fantastic.
Isn't that great? We don't have any pythons in the room. How about you, Agnes? Do you have any Sicilian mafia in your room?
Is that the criteria? Well, no, I don't.
Right now you don't. Right. Okay. So that's the way that we can start to practice is everything is all right now. There is nothing dangerous. There is no dangerous. If we start thinking thoughts like right now there's no danger, that's going to toughen up that amygdala. If we go around looking and seeing danger and finding dangers, that's going to make the amygdala very, very healthy in that amygdala kind of way, so that you start training it to be afraid of things because you're finding dangers. But if you can start looking and finding and thinking about being safe, secure, and comfortable, then that amygdala will, let us say, be trained in that direction. So we can also change our state of mind from the mind of a victim to where a victim, by the way, is one who is subject to dangers. And change your state of mind, change your attitude into the attitude of not being a victim. If you're not a victim, that you're just okay. That means that you don't see dangers. And if you do see dangers, because there are dangers out there, I'm not saying that there are no dangers anywhere, that if you see danger, let us say that the training will bring you to the point that you see the dangers in advance before they get close. You can see the dangers at a distance so that you can avoid them. It's sort of like if you are out in a field and somebody at a distance shoots an arrow at you, and you're not aware of that arrow flying through the air, then you're likely to get shot with that arrow if it was aimed at you. But if you can see the arrow coming at a distance, all you need to do is just take a hike, fall to the ground, move to the left, move to the right, shimmy a little bit, do whatever you do to make yourself delighted, and that arrow is going to miss you. The same thing would be true in a city. Don't walk down alleys, because you have the idea that alleys are probably more dangerous than out in the well-lit streets. So let's not go down alleys. The Buddha talked about that in the sense that there was 4 kinds of areas where the monks would be invited to leave. Don't stay in a war zone. Don't stay in an area that's full of drought. Don't stay in an area that's flooded. Don't stay in an area that is has pestilence or disease. Stay away from those places. All right, so we can now do that same thing. So what we can say is that if you can see danger in other people, then the best thing to do is to stay away from them. Stay in seclusion. Stay around family or friends that you know are safe. And then practice being safe. Practice being safe. Tell yourself over and over again, not a worry in the world. Everything is fine. No dangers in sight. And if you keep practicing that way, Karwan, guess what? You'll toughen up this amygdala so that it's not so sensitive. So, Karwan, do you have anything to say about this? He's off. All right. Timo, what do you think about this? That you can train yourself out of being fearful.
Yeah, I think it's possible, and it's nice.
Yeah, the results are already showing. You're doing well, my friend.
Thank you. I feel good.
Yes, you can train yourself out of being pure. We do that by checking out the body, making sure that the body is safe and comfortable. We can see the reality. There's no dangers here. We can keep telling ourselves everything is okay. We can brighten the mind. We can change our attitude from the attitude of, oh, I'm subject to dangers into, oh, those dangers can't catch me. Da 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 da, can't touch me. So, Alex, what do you have to say?
Not a whole lot. Enjoyed the talk. Appreciated hanging out.
Yes. Are you fearless? Are you going to be fearless when you get cold?
Oh, absolutely. I ain't scared of no cold.
You ain't scared of the cold. All right.
I ain't scared of no cold.
So, Ivan, what do you think?
Marvelous, brilliant. Yeah.
Agnes, my old friend.
Hello. Well, absolutely, one can train oneself out of the fear. I did. I was so fearful and scared 25 years ago. It was a horror I was living in, basically. And I was you. People don't often talk about the freeze response. I had that one. I kind of froze. I didn't escape or, fight. I basically freezed out. And yeah, so I still have a little of that. I didn't want to show people how scared I was, but I was terrified often. I'm not today like
The way
that.
to handle that freeze, by the way, is to breathe. Breathing, in fact, when we freeze, one of the things that we freeze is we stop breathing.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
And so start to breathe well, and then you're not frozen much anymore.
Yeah. I guess that's what I've been doing a lot. Thank you so much.
How about you, Mac? What do you have to say?
I enjoyed this talk about fear a lot. I find that one of the fears that I have is to be a disappointment to other people. Which means that I've been working a lot with expectations, not living up to other people's expectations, and so I've been working a lot with my own expectations and not having expectations about anything. And this, I find that this has helped me a lot with dealing with the fears of being a disappointment to other people, that I don't have expectations to them and they don't have the right to have any to me.
You know, mostly that fear of expectations about pleasing people comes from a very early age. that when you were a really little kid, you probably were quite fearful of other people, and you had to please them and do what you were told to do. And to now you still have that because it's an ingrained habit.
Yeah.
And so you can remember to be here now, that there's nothing to fear now. The people around you now probably don't have any expectations of you at all. What they expect instead is for them to be terrified of you.
You're spot on about the early childhood anyway.
Yes, so we learn how to become fearful when we're little children, and we keep that fear our whole lives, not recognizing that we can, in fact, get out of that.
Yeah.
And I would say that that's the number one thing that we have to deal with. If you can get yourself into a system where your let us say your primary position is everything is okay, that you feel safe and secure naturally, then that's most of the battle in life.
Yeah.
The battle would be no battle at all. In fact, that the battle is that we think that there's a battle. That's why we're afraid. Where in fact there's no battle. There is no battle.
Yeah.
The only reason why there's a battle is because people think there's a battle. And why do they think one? Is because they're afraid. And so when you come out of your fear, you're not going to be battling people. Guess what? They'll pick up on that. They'll pick up on that you're a safe person. They may not pick up on it as strongly as they could if they were mindful, if they were watching, but subtly they'll pick up on it. But if you're afraid of them, then they'll know that you bring fear with you, therefore we'll be afraid with you, of you.
And I will be treated. I've experienced. I will be, if I come into a relationship being fearful, I will be treated as if they will treat me from a position of power rather than as an equal. I find.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Because many people, mostly men, they work with their fear by trying to cover it up with power, even anger. But if you're not fearful at all, then you don't appear powerful. You just appear like a nice guy.
I'd like to appear like a nice guy.
All right. So don't be afraid of anybody. Don't be afraid of anything. Remember to practice being safe and secure.
Thank you.
It's a major item. So how about you, Robert? What do you think?
Thanks a lot. I made many notes. I can relate a lot to what Meg said. For me, it's maybe not fear, but insecurity with other people. And when they see that in me, they become also insecure. And but I think training was basically, and training it had helped me already with that. I can be more relaxed and more in the situation and not so much scattered in my mind. And I hope I'm on the right track there.
Well, if not, just remember to get back on the right track. No problem. If you're on the wrong track, you say, hey, yeah, I see that. Never mind. We can start again. Do the 2-step. Get back on the track. So, Karwan, did you show up yet? Are you here? This whole talk has been for you, friend. Oh, he's here.
Maybe he's asleep.
Yeah, okay. Amrit, what do you think? Did you just arrive?
No, Dhammarato, I'm here from the beginning, but my camera was off. So,
Okay.
but I listened to the talk and with great joy and delight. But I have a question.
All
So for me,
right.
actually, my bigger hindrance is doubt. Is this doubt and fear related? So if I kind of
Absolutely. Fear and doubt are interconnected, interrelated. That in fact, you could say that while doubt has the quality of being restless and worried and trying to fix it, the underlying feeling is the feeling of being insecure, which is another word for fear. So if you can approach the doubt with, oh, I don't need to know that right now. I don't need that. So whatever you have doubt about, if you can respond to that doubt with, hey, I don't know it now, and I'm okay. I'm already fine. So then we don't need to doubt about it, because the doubt will bring fear, and then the fear and the doubt together will bring on an activity of trying to get information that you may not even need. I mean, you're already okay without knowing whatever it is that you have doubt about. There's, in fact, only one kind of doubt that is really worth speaking about. But but it has two beginners. So let me go through the sequence of three kinds of doubt. The first kind of doubt is the doubt of, who can I get to help me, because I'm a victim and I can't do it on my own. I mean, this is solid Christianity. They need a Jesus. They need the mercy of God. They need a teacher. Our whole culture is based upon being a victim, and the victim is in the position of, I need a guru. I need a teacher. I need help here. I need an accountant. I need a technique. I need a Buddhist. I need a meditation. I need. And that need is because of the underlying doubt of, I can't do it on my own. And so once we come to the conclusion, and it's sometimes very difficult to do, that you're not going to get the help you want. Nobody's going to help you. You can't do it. You can't go find somebody to fix your toy. So the next thing, the second kind of doubt is, well, if I can't get somebody to do it for me, am I up to the task? And that's what Anapanasati really, that's where it comes in as so valuable, is because we start getting immediate results right from the very beginning. We change that mind, we begin to feel safe. We change that mind, we begin to feel wholesome. We change those unhappy thoughts and begin to feel happy, and we can see that I can do this, I can change. Wow, no matter how obstructed or how unwholesome the mind gets, I can clean that out. That's a real major change in attitude, from being a victim into being a winner. And then the third kind of doubt, which is the one that's the slam dunk, this is where it comes home. And that is doubt about what is and what is not the path. That's how it's stated in the sutras. Another way of saying it is, do I know what is the right way to spend this moment? And the right way to spend this moment is, in fact, the Eightfold Noble Path. Of being able to look. What is the right way to practicing? Is to remember to look, to change, and congratulate yourself. To remember to look, to change, and to congratulate yourself. And you keep looking and changing and congratulating yourself, and pretty soon you come out of that doubt about, I don't know how to live, I don't know what to do, I'm just, into, darn right, I've got this. I know how to do it. I know what to do with my life. I can just continue to do this same thing over and over and over again. That's all I've got to do, is to remember to look at what's going on and to change it. And then to congratulate myself for doing such a wonderful job. When you keep doing that, all the doubt will flicker away. when you have that doubt about, I know that I can do it, and that I know what it is that needs to be done. And what is it that needs to be done? To purify the mind, to clean out the mind. That's all the job there is. So you can congratulate yourself when you do that, because there's nothing left to do except just to relax. Wow, what a good job I did. So you think you can deal with doubt like that, huh?
Yes, definitely, Dhammarato.
Excellent. So, Ivan, I'm going to pick on you again. You have something to say?
Nothing. Just it's nice to congratulate yourself. Yeah, it's just nice. It's no need to wait. Just remember the practice and the job's done.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. It happens just like that. This is it. So, Alex, do you have any final things to say?
No, let's just keep looking and changing, congratulating, having a good
Mhm.
time.
Absolutely. All right. So, Mikey, why don't we take this thing home?
Yeah, let's do that. Thanks for being unafraid to be here today, friends.
Oh, my screen didn't have a whole lot of people. Listen, let's not end this yet, okay? Let's get some more
Okay.
people in here. All right. So, Ben, what do you think? You were off screens for me. So now I got you on the screen.
Yeah, there's nothing to fear. Here and now, we're still alive, we're still breathing, so everything's good. And if we're dead, we won't care. So, either way, nothing to fear. Enjoy the moment.
Excellent. I'm glad that you're able to do that. I see you doing that a lot. So, Caleb, what do you have to say, my friend?
Yeah, I'm happy to know that we don't have to be a victim to fear. And as somebody that's at one point was scared of his own shadow, I can say that it works. This definitely works, and I recommend this practice to anybody. So yeah, I thank you, and I appreciate the teaching today.
Good. Karwan, are you here yet? How about you, Tim? What do you have to say, Tim?
Yeah, I think it's a really a bad habit to be afraid when there's really just no danger, and I think it's a good habit to practice anapanasati instead.
Hey, Paul, do you have something to say?
Thank you for the talk. It was a good talk. This moment is easy. You just have to practice correctly and repeat it.
Okay. How about you, Giannis? You have something to say?
Yeah. I was still wondering, so is it more worthwhile to just deal with the feeling of fear or use wholesome thoughts to help with it? You know, if we have some fear maybe about the future, because in another time you said that the feelings don't have reason.
Let me ask you this question in response. If you find while you're cooking food, you're cutting up some stuff and you cut your finger, do you want to continue to cut on your finger? Maybe cut your arm. How about your elbow? Let's do some cutting here. We've already gotten this started.
No, I would not like to do that.
Yeah, all right. So as soon as you recognize the fear, as soon as you see it, you can start right then and there by taking that deep breath, rubbing that amygdala. You can immediately begin to look around and say, hey, my feet are planted on the floor. I'm not banging my head into the ceiling. There's no snakes on the floor, no alligators. The email is not a lion. We can begin to tell ourselves immediately that there's nothing to be afraid of.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, as soon as you see the fear, why should you put up with it? In fact, the way to handle it, probably the best way at all is, well, I see that fear. Ha ha! I can see you. Aha! I see you, Mr. Fear. That's exactly the way
Yeah.
that the Buddha handled it in Sutta number 4. Aha! I see you, and he'd just stand there with it and see it until it goes away. The whole point is that let's take an action to get rid of that
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah, because like usually the usual response is trying to fix it. Like there is a problem that brings me fear, and there's like, oh, I need to
Yeah,
do something about it.
yeah, to go fix the problem, and then I don't feel bad. Well, guess what? You
Yeah.
probably could fix that problem because it's not a problem in the first place. You can probably play with it as a toy later when you feel really good. But when you're afraid, guess what? You're perpetuating the fear while you're trying to fix the problem. And that if the problem is at the bank, guess what? Everybody in the bank is going to be pissed off and angry and fearful of you. So let's not try to solve problems while we're in fear. Let's get rid of the fear immediately, and then we can play.
Right. Makes sense. Thank you.
Krishna, how about you? You got something to say, my friend?
Hello, Dhammarato. Yeah. When I was teaching meditation a few days ago, I had this idea to introduce that what you've just talked about, like there are no alligators on the floor, there is no police at the door. And someone at the end of the meditation told me that I should probably not do it because when you say there are no alligators on the floor, there's no police, you start thinking about it.
Yeah, but he should think about not having alligators on the floor. He should start thinking about not having alligators on the floor. Wow, what a relief it is to not have alligators on the floor. This guy probably is saying, uh-oh, he's talking about alligators. I bet there are some. Oh, I'm so afraid I won't even look. There might be alligators. That's his attitude. And so that would be the way to respond to him is he says, you need to check out to make sure there's no alligators. What a relief it is there's no alligators. Christine is
Yeah, I
very
got it.
happy she does not have a cobra or a python on her lap.
Yeah, to be happy when noticing that there is no danger.
There is no danger.
Yeah.
So, Edward, what do you have to say?
I have fear of speaking up in this group. But I mean, I have a lot of other thoughts that I bring to the table. I've been thinking lately, if I contribute on a group or speak, that maybe it should be as an offering to maybe like others, or maybe like new people or something, instead of let's say taking, but just putting out like appreciation. In my profession,
Accept your
I've
appreciation.
widely, excuse me, sorry.
Yes, I appreciate your
didn't-
appreciation. Thank you.
Oh, good, great. No, I was gonna say I share the Dhamma as you shared, and this has been a whole journey for me. I know there's this balance between practice, which has been a nice emphasis for me lately, to just even listening to you now, just apply it now. What fears am I having literally right now, and what to do about them? But having been exposed to the writings of Buddhadasa, it's a life's let's say activity, as you mentioned. So in any case, I deeply express my gratitude, I suppose.
Hey, one thing important about that is that it's not a life's activity, it's a right now activity. Life is just all out in front of us or all out behind us. Let's not look at it as one's whole life. Let's look at it as, oh, let's do it right now. And again, right now.
I
Let's do it
enjoy.
now.
Yeah, I enjoy like walking very much, and that was an interesting experience recently was, how can I reduce this to just one step? I mean, I'm walking to my place of work. It's a 45-minute walk, and yet, or walking home, let's say, to the home responsibilities, and yet, can we really reduce this even to just this step, or what I'm seeing right now, or what I'm hearing, etc.? So anyway, let me be gracious in this moment. And something I believe it was Timo said on the chat, which struck deep, was let's not have expectations. Let's continue to investigate as time goes on. That was really lovely for me to come across.
Yes, in fact, that's good, because we do have expectations. In fact, the expectations is just another word for a view, that it's like this, or it's supposed to be like this, or it's going to be like this. And so let's not do it with expectations. Let's do it with just investigation. This is it. This is it. Not expecting anything, just enjoying the heck out of what we do find. So thank you, Edward. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else? We got anybody else? Anybody who hasn't been talked to? All right, Mikey, why don't we take this thing home?
Okay, thanks friends for being here today. And yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Spotify or iTunes, come join us. Come check out the Dhamma Friends Discord. And you can join us here in the Hangout channel. And yeah, friends have been hanging out, seems almost nearly every day here. Just chatting Dhamma, getting to know each other, and of course, just being happy and taking it easy. So yeah, come join us, have a good time, and for those of you here, take care. Glad to see so many noble friends.
One last thing, and that is that Mikey and I are going to move out of the talk, but I invite everyone here to continue and talk to each other, make friends. This is Sangha. So you don't need me. I talk too much. Now it's time for you guys to talk amongst yourselves with each other. So, in fact, Agnes, I'd like you and Christina to become good friends. Agnes is an old hand at this. I've known her for those 25 years she talks about. She's a seasoned old Dhamma gal. All right, so I'll see you guys later. Enjoy yourselves now.
Thanks, Dhammarato. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, Ben.
Namaste.
Bye, Robert. Bye, Timo. See you, Amit.